wings, listen up. Today's run is vitally important to our cause. Set your frequencies to Dice Time, a Star Wars Legion podcast and part of the Legion Academy Collective. Your lead wing captain today will be Ben Gentrin, and your support ship leader will be Paul Watson. Let's show them what we're made of, rebels.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dice Time. I'm Ben Gentrin.
I'm Paul Watson.
And currently, I don't know where we are, because we are currently hostages.
Oh, we keep getting into these messes, man.
I really wish I could have at least painted a picture as to how this happened, but really, it was all black, and then here we were. I mean, I don't know where you were, but I got grabbed by Pyke Syndicate about a day ago, and then taken here. And then, just a couple hours ago, I think I saw you get dragged in by some Black Sun.
Yeah, man, I got hit in the head so hard. I still don't know where I was before this happened. So,
oh, that's no good. I definitely don't, because I was here. At least I know where I was when you got captured. But I can't tell what they're going to do with us right now, but from the little words that I've been able to pick apart from their language, I think they're trying to figure out which one of them is going to sell both of us to their benefactor. So I think we're currently in the middle of a turf war. So right now, I think we should just take the opportunity and just go ahead and do our show.
Yeah, I guess so.
So Paul, in the month or so that we've been off, or rather in between shows, we've actually had news and new things being released and not released, but shown off to the public. So we have fun stuff
exciting.
to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have the Pykes and the Black Sun, which we'll be able to talk about the fully spoiled core units of both of those factions or sub-factions, however you want to look at them. So we'll have those to talk about. We're also our main other topic, our second main topic, I should say, is we're actually going to be talking about Burnout. So kind of like a semi-serious topic on hobby burnout and, what that can look like, what it can do to you, what it's going to make your game feel like, and what you should do if you start to feel it. So stay tuned for that. That'll be an important talk. But first, Paul, we should talk about the League.
Oh, yeah.
Although, if I remember correctly, did you say that you haven't played your games yet?
I have not. I actually, as of when we're recording this, when it comes out, I will have played my games. But I have one scheduled tomorrow and one scheduled for Saturday morning.
Excellent.
And so, yeah, and then the third person in my group had to drop out because of computer issues.
Oh, that's too bad.
But hopefully he will come back around, maybe even in the next group if he can get his computer fixed in time. But either way, I hope that he can get it fixed and join us for some more fun that's going to be had. I'm super excited to play my list. I know we talked about it a little bit last time, and I haven't gotten to play it yet. So,
well, next time we better get a full report.
Yeah, I'll definitely have some news for next time. We might actually have a couple sessions of League to talk about next time.
Yeah. Maybe the timing will work out that way.
So what about yours? How have your games been?
Well, Bespin finished all of their games before any of the other pods. So,
okay.
So, hashtag Bestpin.
Oh my gosh.
Because we finished first and we finished best. So we actually we played. So if anyone needed to know again, my pod is the Bestman pod. I am with Jace from Friday Night Fights, and then I'm also with Birdland Fan, which is B Smith, and Canadian Bear. So we had a rockin' dice time in the Bestman pod. It was super fun, and I played Jace first, and then Bear, and then B Smith, and that was the order I played him in. I had a great game with Jace. Jace is probably going to disagree with that statement because It was some of the hottest for no reason dice that I've ever rolled throughout an entire game, and some of the dumbest dice he's ever rolled throughout an entire game. Like, I'm talking like 4 blank red defense dice out of 5 in a roll, kind of game.
Wow. So are you telling me that you beat Jace?
I beat Jace, but I promise you it was not on strategy. It was purely on dice.
Hey, you deserve a dice time every once in a while.
But yeah, it was, Sean was just like, don't worry, I'll make sure he never lives it down. I don't care how it happened. It just, that's just gonna be remembered now.
Coming, and especially the fact that it's Jace, who I think maybe only lost like 1, maybe 2 games our entire Yavin base, team career in both of the past 2 seasons.
And I think he beat B-Smith and Bear. I might be wrong on that, but I know he was number 1 in our pod before I played my 2 games. My second 2 games. So I think that means that I was his only loss.
Wow.
That might be wrong, but I think that's right. But anyway, so yeah, we played, I played the same map every time. All 3 of my games, I played on the same map. It was the Scarif map.
Some home field advantage there.
Yeah, but the wild thing is I didn't pick the map any of those games. My opponent always picked it. So Jace picked Scarif, and then I played Bear, and he played Scarif, and he was just like, oh yeah, I like this map, and I was just like, okay, cool. And then I played B. Smith, and he loads up the Scarif map, and I'm like, okay, what the heck? And he's just like, I played the other 2 maps, so I'm just playing them in order. So he was just like, so this one's the only one I haven't played on, and I was just like, oh, well, it's the only one I did play on, so okay. And I started on the same side every time, so yeah, I really got to know that map.
I think I get to pick the map every time, which is really weird because I'm never blue player. Like, I almost always just max out my list and play red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These days I will, because I'm just like, I just don't see a reason to, half the reason I played blue was because I wanted that table edge pick. And now that's a red thing, so now I'm like,
yeah, I think.
I'm like, pick table edge, get final veto on battle deck card, sure. I'd rather do that. Yeah,
it is nice. Although, with the way this league is working, there is that little bit more incentive to go back and play for blue. Again, I wasn't trying to, but I happened to default into it. Because if your list wants something very specific, you can kind of pick a map that's going to fit your strategy a little bit better. Honestly, true. For my list, I'm going to be pretty lucky that I get to choose the map, because I have 3 FD turrets. There are just some maps that those FD turrets are going to sit there and only have a lane that your opponent can stay out of. So, that is one thing with the way the league is run. It really does give you some incentive to play either side of things, right? And and have a good time with some stuff. Like, I can take a list with 3 FDs and not feel like I'm going to be really out of luck if I can pick the map, right? So
right. So, hey, if we get to the Coruscant map from Team League, you know where to put those FDs now, right?
Yes, I do.
Right on the tippy top of a skyscraper where it shouldn't fit. Because it's legal.
Yeah, TTS, man. There's some wonky stuff, though.
I know. There's always stuff that happens during my games where I'm just like, okay, that wouldn't fly in real life, but okay, whatever.
Physics, TTS physics.
People moving through those boxes on the cargo pallets, and I'm just like, that would be a physical object that you couldn't insert your model in real life, but, okay, sure. Go ahead.
Right.
So yeah, then I played Bear, and we had a really, tough back and forth game that he ended up taking the win on, which was super cool. And then B. Smith and I had each gone 1-1. And we were the final game in our pod, and it was going to determine which one of us was going to the upper bracket and then which one of us was going to the lower bracket.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh no, pressure in the league? How dare you? Honestly, I was just there to have a dice time. I'm like, if I end up in the lower bracket, that just means, more fun games. If I go in the upper bracket, hey, I get to play some more, competitive games and see if I can learn stuff while I'm up there. But, I was just like, we'll see where we shake out. I really don't care either way. I'm not going to get eliminated,
Right.
So you just get to keep playing no matter what. So I was like, cool. But yeah, B. Smith and I played. We also had a really tight game. He played Empire. He had a gun line, and I didn't tell you. So Bear and B. Smith's games, I played back to back Saturday night and Sunday morning.
Wow.
Because that was the timing that worked out, and I was like, well, okay, I'll just do it that way. So, Bear played a Republic list that was Wookiee heavy. So Chieftain, 3 units of Wookiees, and then basic clones, 2 laser cannon RTs and a bark speeder. I was like, man, Paul would be proud.
Oh, I like it. I
was gonna say that list was nasty. It really did its work, and we played Breakthrough Disarray, and it was so wonky. It was such a fun game.
Ooh, yeah, that is an interesting combination of stuff there.
He did absolutely gun me down, so I definitely. By the time I hit the breakthrough end zone, I was definitely activated and outgunned. So the final score I think was 7-4 or something.
Okay.
And I was just like, yeah, that's all we can save. Saved as many as we could, and that's about all that made it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of protected wounds and stuff in that list, and just a lot of wounds in general, right?
I really thought I could chew through them, but nope.
It's a lot,
could not.
Man. Wookiee squads are a lot to get through.
Yeah. I don't even think I got through any of them. I mostly he deployed 2 of them, kind of by themselves in one corner. I just, made a fake first line for them to crash into, and then turn 1 just, double moved them away from that so that those Wookiees didn't have anywhere to go. And
that's crazy.
It sort of helped, but not really. Anyway, then I played B. Smith. He played Empire. He played a gun line. And he was most Shores, Krennic, mortars. His mortars were on fire for the whole first round. One of his mortars would average 2 crits a roll. And we were just like, God, are you kidding me?
Wow.
But yeah, he ended up going, very, very, pushy and very forward on his forward moving and getting to objectives and stuff, and I actually did the gun line play and held back a little bit more with a lot of my stuff and just took shots and ended up winning on attrition. Not it came down to it. I think we called it turn 4 or so, but he was I am outgunned and I out-activated too much to win by this point, and so we called it there. But it was I just remember going to the after chat in one of the groups, and someone was just like, so why were you moving up so much? And he's like, 'cause I'm impatient. I'm a melee player. He's like, I don't play gun lines, and everyone was just like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I have found that in games of Legion sometimes is you could play a game where you just sit around and you don't really shoot a whole bunch, or if you do, it's at range into cover, and you're really just not getting anywhere. And then at the very end, you can jump out and claim all the objectives, right? And yep. I found out very early, one of those times when we were in Muncie, playing in one of those tournaments, that I am not that guy.
yeah, no.
I am not gonna hide my army the entire game and have a boring 2.5 hour game of positioning behind rocks where no one shoots each other, barely touches anything, and then jump out on objectives. I can't do that. It's not fun for either of us. I came to play a game and pew stuff, and that's not how I want to play. Yeah. So I totally get that you just couldn't sit there and just shoot all day. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting to see, and I mean this in the most respectful way. It's really interesting to watch people who play one play style go into like another faction or another kind of list and apply their tactics to that kind of list, like applying melee tactics to a gun line, because there were absolutely times where he would move a unit and then get me in a weird spot because I didn't think he was going to move. I was like, he's going to sit there and aim shoot. And then he's like, I moved this unit and now you're out of cover or something. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't think you were going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It was actually really cool and really scary at times because I was like, oh man, he's got so many bodies on the center objective. And this is like a gun line. I didn't think this was going to happen. He's forming a new gun line.
I especially like to do stuff like that with Empire. Getting them into melee isn't bad. Like, right, you might lose some dice from the heavies and stuff, but now you're rolling black dice, that's Surge. And you have red defense saves.
Yeah.
Right. So, exactly. It's like you can do some stuff that, I mean, that's not what you think Empire's going to do, right? You don't think they're going to run up and tie you up in melee. Mm-hmm. You think they're just going to shoot at you because that's what Empire does, right? Is they're like a gunline faction for sure.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean they can't do the other thing.
Oh, and then one last thing to touch on that was that he had Death Troopers that were using their range 2 guns at one point.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's right. You guys have those.
Yes.
And I was like, oh God, I hope I don't die. There was a lot of death, both sides. Anyway, but yeah, so all my games were fun in round 1. Hashtag bestbin, and I can't wait for round 2. So that ended up being a little bit longer of a report because I just wanted to talk about the games because I had so much fun with all of them. But I say we talk about our captors now, Paul.
Yeah, I think we probably should.
So we've been fully spoiled to show the Black Sun Enforcer core unit that's coming out in the Shadow Collective and all their upgrades that they come with. And as of time of recording, we just got the full spoiled Pyke Syndicate cards, which we've had before, but we now have their points. So now people can start playing around with them in list building. So why don't we go ahead and start with those Pykes, just because we've seen them before.
Yeah.
So we now know that they are going to be playable in all factions. So Rebels, Empire, Clones, and Droids. You are going to be able to take Pyke Syndicate foot soldiers in whatever you're currently playing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a heavy option, an extra trooper, a gear, and a grenade. They've got, for 40 points, Danger Sense 2, Outmaneuver, Self-Preservation, which is a new keyword, and Independent Dodge 1, which is also a new keyword. All of those keywords for their basic core unit. They have white defense die, 1 health, 1 courage. They surge on defense, speed 2, basic guns 1 to 3, black, basic melee 2 white. So, and there's 4 models in the base squad. So Paul, you were kind of saying this beforehand, but that is a lot of keywords for just a basic unit. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, about the keywords that they're going to have just out the gate without any upgrades?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. They're the price of Rebel Troopers, man.
Right.
These seem more powerful than Rebel Troopers to me. But, I mean, I could be wrong. We haven't seen a whole lot of them on the table, right? So, I know the self-preservation is kind of a negative keyword, but I feel like these other ones are really good. Having built-in outmaneuver, that's 2 points, right? That's 2 points in a slot that they don't have. That is already on them. Honestly, the independent dodge 1, I feel like these troops, you're just going to be doing that, right? You're going to build your list around not giving the core troopers orders. So they're you're trying to get them to be one, if not the only thing in your pool. So that way they're getting all these tokens for free.
Mm-hmm.
And the danger sense too is just nice. It's just going to make them more survivable, right?
Right. Actually, Paul, I have a question. I don't think I've looked this up. Can you opt to just not give orders on your card? Like if you had 3 units left or something in your army, like late game, and then you played assault and you had to give out 3 orders, could you just give 2 of them out and then just not give a third one out? Or do you have to?
That is an interesting question, and I don't know the answer to that.
All right, fair enough.
Without double checking.
That'll be this month's Dice Time homework.
Yeah. You'll have to look that up. Yeah, because it'd be interesting. But then again, too, you think about, like, how many times are you running a character who's like an operative or even a commander that has a card that only gives an order to them, right?
All the time.
Right. Like a Maul who has a bunch of 1-pips, right? But they all just give him orders, or maybe one other unit. Like, so it's not like you have a bunch of activation control with him anyway. And so these guys just benefit from that, right? Like both the Black Suns and the Pyke. So I just feel like we're going to see some interesting stuff with people doing some of the opposites, right? Right now I feel like, well, at least I've seen or played, like things like Rebel Vets or the Shore Troopers who you want to give them orders, right? You want to have the orders on them because they get benefits for getting orders. And now here we're seeing the reverse. And so I just think it's going to add to some play styles or in combinations, right? Maybe you have 2 squads of Rebel veterans and then 2 groups of Pyke Syndicate. And you're going to always try to give your veterans the orders so that way they give the dodge tokens and not give the Pykes orders so that way they get dodge tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll just be really interesting to see like what kind of combinations people come up with. And just the way these guys are going to work in other factions is going to be really interesting.
Now, the thing that I heard as of today as well, and I think this was said on a stream, so this is secondhand knowledge because it was passed from streamers to dedicated watchers and then passed on to me. But I think that they said that there's going to be some kind of restriction in list building when you take Pykes or Black Sun or anything like that, where you're going to have to pay for at least 3 core from the faction that you're already playing before you get access to these guys. So you can't just play Empire and not bring any Stormtroopers and only bring Pyke, like 6 units of Pyke Syndicate. That's not going to be a thing.
Right.
Unfortunate. For me anyway. I was thinking about doing that kind of thing. But when I look at, the kind of stuff you're talking about, when I look at the points of how much these guys cost and then all the stuff that they get just for free, it kind of seems like it's a fair tax, These kind of do feel like elite core.
Yeah, they do seem quite good for their points, at least from what I have seen here. And then we're going to get into their upgrades here pretty soon. I think their upgrades are really quite good.
Yeah, so they have the 2 heavy options. They have the Electro Whip and the Disruptor. Yeah. And then their 2 core options, their 2 added on guy options are the Foot Soldier and the Capo. The Capo can be taken as his own commander, but we're just talking about the upgrade right now. And then, that's kind of all specific for them, although they did spoil off a new gear card, which is called Prepared Supplies, which we can talk about later. But the Disruptor, I think, is a cool one to talk about. It is a range 1 to 4, 1 red, 2 black, impact 1 for 24 points. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Seems really good for 24 points. A range 4 weapon with impact, and then the dice pool is nice, right?
The dice pool is good.
3 dice, 1 red, 2 blacks.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, you're probably going to be having these guys at range 3, right? And so they're just going to add more blacks to that. So
Unless, of course, you're taking the Electro Whip.
That's true.
Because then these guys are almost a melee threat at that point.
Yeah, then you're probably running them up much closer.
Range melee to 1, 2 red, and it has Immobilize 1 and Suppressive. And this is 10 points.
Yeah, it seems really good for...
It's really good.
I mean, because essentially if you're at the point where you're just wanting to add an extra body and you don't have or don't want to spend the points on a really big, heavy weapon, like 10 points, like that's, 1 point more than the extra body you can get with, yeah.
And it comes with a really nice melee weapon too.
Right. And it's not, you're not restricted to using just that, right? It could
it's not a sidearm.
It could just be a 10-point body that shoots another range 3 gun for you, which is actually quite cheap. I mean, you're looking at this, right? If you put the Electro Whip and the extra guy in there, that's another 19 points. You're looking at 59 points for 6 guys. And then you have
all those keywords and
all those keywords. And if you happen to get close, immobilize and suppressive, like, do you really want to get close to those?
Right.
Probably
I was going to say,
not.
Here comes the Force user to cut through your ranks, but then here are all these Pyke Syndicate warriors with whips.
Right.
And you're like, oh no, I can get immobilized and suppressed the crap out of them as soon as 3 of them all gang up on me.
Right, and most of them are going to probably have a dodge from independent and the outmaneuver, so you're probably not going to kill the entire squad in one swing.
And an aim from the extra body.
Right, so
they're going to whip you better.
Right, and potentially from that prepared supplies card that you said we would talk about, another dodge. Like, that first hit could be not a whole lot against them, and then they could come back with that Electro Whip, right? Yeah. There's going to be some interesting loadouts, I think, that we're going to see. And I would not be surprised to see a lot of 59.6 model Pyke Syndicate units.
Personally, my loadout that I'm looking at is, I think 62 points, but we'll get to that later. But so the foot soldier is 9 points, and he brings cash 1 or cash aim 1. So cash is another new keyword, which is basically that during setup you place one kind of whatever token it says on that upgrade card. If at any point you can spend that, and so when you spend that, you can. Or when you don't spend it, you're not losing it at the end of your round. You're able to keep it for whenever, which is what I was telling people is honestly just like, you're just paying for an action that you don't have to take, which depending on your game, you're only going to take 10 to 12 actions, even if you survive the entire game. Why not get some of those for free?
Yeah. Yeah, and really, like, what are you looking at, right? I mean, it's 9 points for the extra body and that extra ability for an aim token that you can use at any point during the game that you might want.
Yeah, and you will use one.
It kind of goes to the, like, the clone trooper specialist, for instance, right? That has the exhaust and gives you the tokens or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about other people, but I don't recover that unit very often unless I can get a free recover. Like, you're just spending the extra point for that one-off dodge or one-off surge token or aim or, whatever it might be for that specialist. So this is essentially the same thing, except you're limited to one token, right? And I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending on the, on the foot soldier, but on the upgrade, which is called prepared supplies. Oh, I guess I didn't say what the capo does. The capo brings independent surge 1, which is they had independent dodge. And it's their leader. So
it gives them plus 1 courage, the independent surge, leader, 16 points. Again,
I didn't see the courage thing. Yeah,
seems really good, right?
Again,
for 16 points. And then it just incentivizes you even more so not to put orders on them, right? Because now they're going to get a dodge and a surge. So it seems pretty good.
So this neutral upgrade, which is a gear upgrade called Prepared Supplies, also comes out with the Pykes, and it gives them cash dodge 1. So cash being that keyword we talked about just a minute ago. And so during setup, you'll place 1 dodge token on that card, and you can spend tokens on that card. So one of the things that people were talking about right out the gate when they dropped this were characters that have nimble, being able to take this. So let me just
especially ones that can also take vigilance.
Yeah, right. So I was going to say, so let's quickly just run through this real quick if you really want to dive down the nimble supplies route. So to be very clear for everyone that needs to that sometimes need to hear how some rule interactions work, yes, you will have a dodge token at the start of the game that you can use at any time. But being a nimble character, I want you to know that when you spend that dodge, you do spend it, and then you gain a dodge token back. So how that rule interaction is going to look like is let's pick Sabine. I don't know why, I just want to pick Sabine as an example. No idea why. But we're going to use her as an example. She goes into battle, and she gets shot at. She doesn't have a dodge token or anything on her. She just has a dodge from this prepared supplies. So I'm going to spend the dodge token from prepared supplies. I spend it, I do the defense roll, we do our combat, whatever, we're good. At the end of their attack, I'm going to get that dodge token back, but it's not going to go on prepared supplies, it's going to go on Sabine. Because of how the wording is, when you spend a dodge token, you gain a dodge token back. It's not, you don't gain tokens and put them on your upgrade cards. When you gain tokens, you gain them on yourself. So now that dodge is in play. Now for the rest of that turn, you're going to have nimble and you're going to be good. And you're going to keep that dodge token, but then when the turn is over and you do your token cleanup, that dodge is coming off the table.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you have vigilance, which then it's a pretty sweet combo. So
I'm wondering what the odds are that we get some kind of command card somewhere along the way that allows you to refill these tokens on these cards.
Cash? Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I see that they're just a cheap little thing to do one token one time, and I think that's okay. I don't know if I necessarily need my cash to get refilled, but it would be kind of fun if there was like some kind of thing that did that.
Maybe counteracted their independent abilities and make it so it can refill those cash cards
when you get an order.
When you get an order.
Oh yeah.
So that way you have to be like, okay, well, I'm not getting all my tokens this turn, but that's so I can get all these tokens like maybe later.
Yeah, I like that.
It'd be interesting if they had a character who was kind of like
Hondo.
That'd be cool, right? Like
Hondo should refill caches.
Like a supply card, right? Like he supplies people with all the stuff that they need.
Oh my god. Dice Talk figured it out. We cracked the code.
Oh man.
Hondo is gonna have command cards that are like all your characters' cash cards are refilled.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Hondo's gonna refill caches. It's gonna be great. Man, that's awesome. I actually, since they've announced, the Scum faction stuff, that I'm really excited to see whatever they do with Hondo. Because now we have mercs.
Yeah,
that can go in any faction.
There's going to be some really interesting things for sure. Yeah. And they just open the doors wide open for all kinds of cross-faction characters and things like that with the new symbols on these cards, right? That have...
Yep.
The little, what faction they can go in. It's going to make it much easier for those characters like a Hondo or an Ahsoka or, things like that can go in multiple different factions and not have to worry about multiple cards and all that. Nope, you just get this one card. It just has the multiple faction symbols on it. You're good to go.
R2 and 3PO are literally identical except for what faction they are in. And I think their points are the same. I think their all their keywords and everything are completely the same. So, they could have just done, R2 and 3PO and maybe just given them these little faction symbols like that.
Yep. And just been done with it.
So
let's go to Black Sun.
Yeah, let's go to Black Sun. So, Black Sun Enforcers were shown off between the last show and now, and they're all new. So, they are 48 points. They have 4 models in their unit, a heavy option, an extra guy option, a gear, and a grenade, just like the Pykes. Their keywords, however, are Dauntless, Independent Aim 1, Precise, and then they also have Self-Preservation. They have red defense dice, 1 health, 1 courage, no surges, 2 speed, range 1 to 2 blasters, black and a white, and red die in close quarters combat.
I think one other key thing to mention here is that the two factions that they can go in are Imperial and Separatists.
That is true. So they will not be available to Rebels or to the Republic.
Yeah.
Which I'm honestly very thankful for.
I mean,
not so much in Rebels because I love playing my Rebels, but I think this is fair.
It seems a little bit more thematic, right?
Right.
Exactly. Just with like where they fit into things.
Right. I honestly appreciate that they keep that kind of thing going where it's like, thematically, you're not going to see Black Sun in Republic, so we're not going to put him there. But then they also find a way to make sure that they balance out with the factions that they are in. So I think that that's something nice to see. I don't know necessarily thematically that I would have seen Pykes in the Republic or Pykes with the Rebels, but, they got to get somebody, right?
Yeah. I guess my view of them is I feel like the Pykes are a lot more opportunistic than Black Sun is.
Right. That's fair. I think that makes sense.
So again, these keywords, man, you're getting a lot of keywords for the price here. Dauntless seems good, especially on a unit that has a range 2 max weapon, right? Like, you want to be able to keep moving if you need to.
And that may be getting suppressed a lot because of self-preservation not really allowing them to be freed up.
Yeah. So, that's just in general, that's a really cool keyword that we don't see very often, right?
Yep.
And, it'll be really interesting to see that on core units, because how many times do you have a core unit that only has the 1 courage and you're like, man, I really need this 2 actions. I just need to roll off this 1 suppression to get these 2 actions, right? And these guys have a much better chance of doing that, right? So, yeah, it's going to be, if you want some good, solid units that you're going to keep the activations up with, like, this is going to be a really, really clutch unit, I think, to be scoring objectives and things like that. And maybe that's what they're in your list for, right? Like a tanky objective scorer, if nothing else. So that's, really interesting. And then obviously independent aim is going to be good. Gives them, especially with the combination of precise, right? Like you're instantly, just by not giving them an order, able to reroll 3 dice. Seems strong.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty scary force to come up against if you come into range with them. We've basically been comparing them to better fleet troopers.
Yes. Well, and part of that is because of the range, right? Like, and we can go into their upgrades, right? Because spoiler alert, they don't have range. Range 2 is it for them. So
they fill a similar role to what the fleet troopers have, especially because they also have a scattergun.
They do.
And then they also have the Magdet Enforcer as their 2 heavy options. So the scattergun is, if you had to guess, then you're probably right. It's almost exactly the same as the fleet trooper. It is 2 red, range 1 to 2 with Pierce 1. And that is currently listed as 28 points.
So it's a little more expensive than the Rebel Trooper version, right? But
true.
You're getting the red saves in there with with that scatter gun, which is quite good because I feel like we all know one of the reasons why fleet troopers just don't see the light of day as much is because they can't survive lots of times to get in to do their damage, right? And here the Black Sun are making up for that with Dauntless and red saves.
So then we've got the Magdet Enforcer, who's strictly range 1. Looks like a grenader of some kind, a grenadier. I'm sorry. But he's got 3 black, blast, and impact 3. All for 14 points.
Yeah, for 14 points. It's essentially like putting a grenade on a unit. Right? Like, it's like putting the extra body with a grenade built into him, except it's a much better grenade for maybe even a couple points more. If that, it might actually be pretty even compared to the the unit and just how much of the base unit would cost anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Seems quite good to have that utility of blast and impact 3 on 3 black dice. And again, that's not the only weapon that person can use. So they still have the normal range 2 gun that all the Black Sun Enforcers do, right? So, and
just an extra body.
Red close combat. Like,
just in case.
Yeah. Not bad.
In case your opponent's force user is like, you know what, I need to chop these red dice in half so he gets into melee with you. But maybe if you have good saves, a Black Sun Enforcer to help you dodge, because that's an extra body option, then maybe you can live, and then you're throwing red dice back at him in melee.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Enforcer is the extra body. He's 11 points, and he gives them cash 1. Or I keep saying cash 1 and skipping what kind it is. Cash dodge 1. So 1 dodge.
So the other version, the Pyke Syndicate gets the aim.
Yep.
They get both, right? Like, innately Pikes get dodge, and then can get the aim and the cash, and the Black Suns are the opposite, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then their other more elite extra body is the Black Sun Vigo, which will also be a commander option, but we have not seen his card yet. He does the same thing. He increases their courage by 1, gives them independent surge 1, and leader.
Yep.
He's an extra body.
Yep, 2 points more expensive than Pyke Syndicate, coming in at 18 points, but you're getting it for the red save, right? You're paying the 2 points for the red save.
Right. So there's some absolutely scary stuff you could do. Actually, Paul, that one squad of Pikes who grabbed me, I'm starting to remember what they were kitted out with. Maybe you can remember what the Black Sun squad that grabbed you kind of had. I recall that my Pyke Syndicate was like somewhere around 62 points worth, and they had an Electro Whip, an extra Foot Soldier, and a new grenade that just got released today, the Sonic Imploders. That's how they got the drop on me. So just another fun, quick little upgrade they got announced today. Sonic Imploders are a new grenade that'll be 3 points. They are range 1 black dice, and they will give you suppressive, which I think is an awesome thing to have on grenades. And the reason that I would put them on this Pyke squad is just to make them that much scarier at range 1 as a melee threat. So now you've got the Electro Whip, which is giving you immobilize and suppressive, and then the Sonic Imploders, those might, I don't know if suppressive stacks, but if suppressive can stack to 2, that's a lot of suppression.
Yeah.
Honestly, gonna have to be a rules question, because I don't know if suppression stacks or suppressive stacks, but if it does, whew. So I'm just gonna lay that out there before it gets canceled.
I was thinking, very similar on the Black Sun over there. You got the Mag Det Enforcer with the Sonic Imploder upgrade. So if you're at range 1, you got Blast, Impact 3, and Suppressive.
Yep.
Also seems pretty decent.
In which case, I'm starting to see a theme. I think they're catching us off guard with these Sonic Imploders, so we're going to have to watch out for that next time.
Yes.
All right. So, Paul, do you have any ideas of like where you kind of would slot these guys in and what lists you want to see them in? Or
everywhere.
Like what factions? Everywhere.
Just put them everywhere. They're so good. Put them in all the things. No, I mean, I think that it's going to be really interesting to see, again, like combinations of like where people put these. You have the Pyke Syndicate, they have some more range 4 threat for a fairly good price. So I would not be surprised to see some of those just like hanging out, even just a unit or 2 in the backfield with that range 4 gun with some impact. I would not be surprised to see, like I had briefly mentioned on the Black Sun side, having a squad or 2 of Black Sun Enforcers in some of these lists as, objective like grabbers and holders and stuff like that. Especially Black Sun. I think it'll be interesting to see if they fit into that CIS kind of area, because now CIS could potentially have access to a core unit that has red saves.
That's
something
true.
that they're not used to being a tanky faction, but now all of a sudden you could take half of their core that could survive some hits. And hang on to some of those objectives that normally the droids start falling off of.
And talk about peak hostage exchange unit.
Oh yeah,
for those two factions.
Yeah, especially with those range 1 weapons, right? Like, oh man, that electro whip on a hostage exchange unit, you just like immobilize and suppress units on your way out.
Or just whip your opponent's hostage unit so they can't.
Keep them there.
So they just can't run. Oh, I guess they get to run on round 1, but after that, no more. After that, the whips.
But you could still
get the whips.
You could still be in range of them, right?
That's
in
true.
turn 2.
Yep. Yes, you could. Then you just have to win that draw. And that's Legion. Now we're just talking Legion.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of things people do. And like you were saying, maybe, for stuff like hostage exchange, maybe you do just put, especially again, CIS faction, maybe you do just put a Black Sun Enforcer unit in there with for hostage exchange stuff, so that way you have a unit that can absorb some hits on the way out. Or get into a Force user and maybe not die right away.
Maybe scare them.
Right. Well, I mean, I think one of the things that you can do with that for hostage exchange, especially, is when a really good Force user is in on you, they can do the, kind of standby shenanigans. Mm-hmm. Well, when you're punching them with red dice from a Black Sun Enforcer, they might not want to just stand there and get punched all day anymore.
Right.
Or even
like
the Electro Whip.
Anymore.
Right? Even the Electro Whip, like 2 reds and then 2 whites per model in there, you could put out quite a bit of damage, just being in melee with a Force user like that. So, yeah, there's some really interesting things. And then, again, like the Cash being able to, like, pull aims out without taking the action. That's interesting against standbys and things like that as well, right?
Yeah, especially when you get the drop on you from a Force user and you're like, oh, I don't have time to aim because if I do, they're going to pull standby and then I just get screwed. Now you just have it. Now you're just ready to go.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see like some of those interactions and how things work and how it changes up how you play certain, scenarios or, certain situations that you come across on the battlefield. And I think both of these units, the Black Sun and Pyke, are just going to add options to all the factions, right? And I think this is my guess. My guess is we're going to see them. I think there's still going to be lists that are just running like, the 3 basic core units, and they're going to go with all the other stuff that they want to go with. Right? There's still going to be plenty of those because you want to focus on other things. You want to double down on other units or other, parts of your list. But I think we're going to see a lot of these new guys just in all the factions. I think they have a place everywhere. And it's just, again, how are you using them and what are you putting them in your list for? I think there's going to be a purpose for each one in there. And it'll be interesting to see what people come up with and just how they're used and what they're used for. And I'm excited, and it'll be interesting to see what people come up with even just running them all together, right? Like, are you running capos? Are you running basic troops? Who knows?
Since you say that, what people come up with running them all together, I will get my foot in the door on 2 lists that I already know that I want to run when all these guys come out. It's going to be expensive as heck in real life, but you know what? I'll slowly get there, and when I get there, it'll be game over. Pretty sure both of them are going to have to run in Shadow Collective faction explicitly, knowing now this new rule of not being able to take all those core without faction specific tax first.
Sure.
So I know one of them I was talking about last time. Until I get a snappier name for it, it's just going to be Tatooine belongs to the Syndicate. And it's going to be a capo and 6 different Pyke foot soldiers and Cad Bane. And it's just going to be a Book of Boba Fett list. But we were talking about it earlier, and Paul just made me think of like the best thing that I could sneak in, because it wasn't really fitting up to 800 points yet. I originally had 2 capos, and if I cut 1 capo down, I could maybe squeeze 2 AA5s in there, because we now know that those are going to be multi-faction with Rebels and I'm guessing also Scum. So if that's the case, then I'm going to run AA5s in there. And I told Paul, I said, that'll be my hover train. I'll just run them like front to back like in a little line, and they'll just be my hover train, and I'll have Pikes in it.
Yeah, and can you imagine getting a electro whip Pyke out of that thing?
Yep.
And
I was
electro whipping somebody?
When the train crashes into you and Pikes with whips jump out, you're screwed.
Yeah, while the rest of your Pikes with their disruptor rifles are hanging out in the back shooting you at range 4.
Yep. And then Cad Bane doing his Cad Bane shenanigans.
Oh, yeah. And again, that's a perfect opportunity to run a model, right? That all of your core units are going to be getting their independent, because Cad Bane has a lot of orders that just give to him.
That are just
right?
Cad Bane. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're going to see a lot of that. Yeah, I think that's
actually not a terrible list. I think it'll actually be pretty fun, and it might hold its own.
Oh, for sure. No, I think that could be very fun, and like you said, might be a little expensive in real life, but it would be cool. It'd be cool to see on the table.
I'll get there. I'll be the first one to bring it to a major.
There you go.
And people will be like, "Wow, you bought 6 Pyke foot soldiers for this list."
No, you're going to buy 6 core boxes, right?
Right, essentially. I mean, I might as well, because my other list is also going to be a little expensive, because it's a skirmish list. So I got 1 800-point list and 1 skirmish list for y'all, in case you only play one or the other. But I'm calling it Black Hole Sun, and it is just Black Sun. Like 2 Vigos, I don't know what they're going to call. Well, it's just going to be 1 Vigo, I guess, because you can only take 1 commander. But like 1 Vigo, and then I just want to bring 4 Black Sun Enforcers with scatterguns, or maybe Magdet Enforcers, maybe 2 and 2. But I just want to run a whole Black Sun skirmish list, because right now I run the Tanta 4 team, which is my Rebel, Leia, R2-3PO, and then 4 Fleet Troopers with scatterguns and different upgrades list. And that is so much fun to play in skirmish, because you can get to range 2 in turn 1, or start at turn 2, depending on how your opponent plays and how the map plays out. You can get to that range like turn 1 or turn 2, and you can start firing away. So just bringing excess of it ensures that you're going to be using it to its full power and its full devastation on your opponent. And it's pretty scary. And Black Sun are just kind of better Fleet Troopers. So if I just bring nothing but Black Sun for skirmish, that's going to be fun. I'm actually really looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, you could, depending on how other things shake out that come out, like what other options for commanders or operatives or whatever that you might have, you might be able to fit, something else other than the capo and your Black Sun Enforcers in there.
Yeah. And then I think you were kind of saying earlier, like, wouldn't it be fun to run an 800-point list of just, like, 400 points of Pikes and 400 points of Black Sun, and then just play them on opposite ends of the board?
Yeah, and just see who can
kill
more.
Yeah, and they're just competing to see who can kill more.
Yeah, you could just have fun in all of your games, right? And you could keep track of like how many victory points each side scores, how many kills each side gets.
We're gonna see who does better at the end of the day.
Yep. That would be fun. Like if you were just going to a fun event to do that, 800 points, just split them right down the middle and just keep track of all their points and stuff. I would do that. That'd be fun.
It's a 3-way fight. Not only are you going to be not only will I be fighting you, you're one faction, but then you're also facing Pikes and Black Sun. 3-way cage match.
There's gonna be some cool stuff. I'm excited. Yep. I'm excited to continue to see as stuff comes out. It'll be interesting to see the Black Sun Vigo when they like actually put his
I need him out so I can make my skirmish list already.
Yeah, so you can see what the commander like does for that. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm assuming we're going to see something very similar to the Pyke Syndicate. I would not be surprised, right? It's gonna have independent aim, one. It's gonna have probably
Dauntless.
it's probably gonna have that same ability at the top where they can pass their tokens to other people and get suppression, like, right, when they would get them.
Yep.
And instead of Danger 2, what? Probably Dauntless, right?
Right.
They
might even have Precise. He might even have Precise. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah,
Maybe.
Who knows? And then I wouldn't be surprised to see him again, like with the range 2 gun, maybe like a 3 black range 2 gun or something like that, or a red and maybe a rainbow, a red, black, white. Yeah, 4 health, 2 courage, red save. I mean, same as what we're seeing, right? Just I think it's going to be very similar. Obviously, a little bit more points than the Pyke one because of the red saves. I mean, I think that's going to be pretty standard there, but.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, I think we're both excited to see where they roll out, and I'm excited to see where the scum will lead us coming in summer. Yeah. We'll definitely I think we'll have at least like 1 or 2 more shows, at least 1, but maybe 2 more shows before they all come out. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and move on to our last little topic here, and we've already gone for a little bit of time, but I mean, I'd still like to take a little bit of time on this topic just because I feel like it's semi-important, if not important, to some people's lives, and specifically in Legion. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it probably will, so stick around. But we're going to be talking about burnout, specifically hobby burnout. So this is referring to the kind of feeling that you get when you're playing or when you're doing anything with your hobby, thinking, playing, doing, anything that refers to, or any part of your hobby where you just start to feel kind of drained on it. You're feeling like it's taking so much out of you. You feel like you're having to do so much of it, and you feel like you have to, like it's starting to feel like work, which is not what your hobby's supposed to be. So, what can you do to try and fix that? I would like to lead the topic in, Paul, by saying I think we have both experienced burnout specifically with Legion.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
And that's right. We're still doing a podcast about it.
Yeah.
But it's because burnout comes and goes, It's not temporary. It is temporary. It is not forever.
Yeah, especially if you do some of the things that we're going to talk about, it can really help not make it last forever, right? There are some times where things like burnout can last forever, but there are also some things you can do to mitigate some of that.
So I'll say that I've kind of felt a little bit of hobby burnout as far as painting has gone recently, because I hit a stride recently in this past month where I was like cranking out models. Like I got excited for the Black Sun and the Pykes and everything got announced, and Shadow Collective all got mainly shown off, all the new images that were shown and stuff. And I got so excited, and I was just like, oh man, I have to make room in my painting queue for them to show up. So I just started cranking out old models that I still hadn't done. So I did like a bunch of Empire stuff. I got some Snow Troopers cranked out in like 2 nights. I got my Imperial, the Stormtrooper expansion, and then like with the captain and all them. Yeah. I also did the droid equivalent of that because we were going to an event, and literally the night before, Caleb was like, actually, I want to try this OOM. Do you have the card? And I was like, yep. But if I open this box, I got to paint all the models, so give me a minute. Painted all them up. I mean, B1s are easy. That wasn't fair. But, and I think I painted up something. No, I think that's the majority of what I did. And then I was like, oh man, I am on this like painting high right now. I also did some characters. I remember that. So I was going in a pretty good streak. And then I was like, now I'm going to tackle Shore Troopers. And I broke that box out, assembled them, and then like started to do the first bit of black on them, like for their lens and their undersuit and stuff. And then I just hit a wall. And as of time of recording, I'm still in that wall. 'Cause every time I think about going back to the shore troopers, it feels like it's going to be work, and I like don't want to do it. Like, I want the shore troopers to be done, obviously, and I want to play with them, but like painting them, even though I love painting, specifically right now, the shores just feel like a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like where I am at right now. And, you know, Trista's been like, why don't you just open another box of something else and like move on to something you want to paint more? And then I'm like, because my OCD will say, no, you already have something open. You have to finish it before you move on to something else. It's a factory line. You can't just jump and skip around. I mean, I can. I honestly might. I think I might like cave and like paint Kalani or something just to give me like a one model thing to do.
Yeah.
And then maybe that'll get me back in the swing of it. But how about you, Paul? Is there stuff that you felt like you've had a similar experience on something like that?
Well, you're just making me, I'm sitting here at my desk just like staring up at all my Legion boxes of partially open, some in shrink wrap, and yeah, like some models like that are half put together and half painted, base is not done, and like, oh man, so much to do. Yeah, I mean, I feel like especially that's as I'm looking at my group of stuff here, like I have clones that I still haven't painted, but it's like I painted so many of them and painting the same like couple of colors, you know, because clones are like stormtroopers, like things like that. It can be so monotonous just like sitting and painting the same two colors over and over and over again. And just, yeah, like, I know recently, like, I had to separate from that, like, painting, that side of painting. And I was just like, I need something different, and just changed and did, I mean, I painted some models from a different game, from Lord of the Rings, but I also did, and I've talked about this a little bit, I think, a different color scheme than I'm used to. I tend to do a lot of like blues, purples, like that shade of thing. And the Lord of the Rings army that I did recently was a completely fall themed, color. So even just that, like change up the schemes that you are using, do something different, you know, change, you know, and I know some people are like this, right? Like you're going to paint stuff to canon and by all means. But instead of painting a white stormtrooper again, like switch over, paint up a rebel trooper unit, like, or paint, like you said, paint up paint up an operative or something, paint up a Boba Fett. So that way you can get out of painting straight white for the, 40th time on a stormtrooper unit. You know, just give yourself a break. It's okay. And it's okay to just not paint for a while, or not hobby, not put models together, honestly, not even play the game. If you need a break, like that's okay. It's okay to let yourself take a break. Because like you said, I think one of the most important parts is like, this is our hobby, right?
Right. It should feel that way.
And if you do Legion for a living, let me know how you figured that one out. Cause, I'd be happy to quit my job and make just as much money, playing with plastic models and stuff like that. But, it's okay.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's absolutely, we're not just speaking to the burnout of painting, because maybe you're somebody who like got somebody commissioned your stuff done. So like all your stuff's already painted because you just don't want to do that part of the hobby. That's fine too. You can still get burnt out on playing. And honestly, I think that is something that probably affects people more, because there's a lot of people who get in so many reps with a game to get ready for these tournaments, and then they burn themselves out just by doing those reps. Yeah. Like they gotta play, I gotta play 40 games with this list before I go to this tournament. And it's like, first off, for me, I'm like, that's insane. I mean, if you have the time for that, then more power to you. That's awesome. If you have a great set of friends, sir. But I'm personally like, if I played that many games, I could totally understand getting burnt out on it, because, you've played the exact same thing. if you want to stay within Legion, try playing a different faction or playing a different style of list. Like we were talking about earlier, a melee list versus a gun line. Like, try a different tactic.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
just if you want to stay playing Legion. Like, if you don't feel like Legion is work, but you just feel like what you're doing in it is work, just play something different. If you feel like Legion is work, then, you know, we have some recommendations for you. Like Paul was saying earlier, you can take a break by playing like a different game. You could just actually take a break from playing games in general if you feel like that's monotonous and that's what you need as a break from, and that's totally okay.
Yeah, we're getting to that time of year, right, where it's, well, at least in our area, it's finally starting to.
Sorry, Canada.
We can't say this too loudly in our area because winter might hear us and come back and smack us in the face tomorrow morning. But
actually, as of time of recording, it is going to.
Over the weekend, it was nice, and my wife put my winter coat away, and now here we are. It's cold again, so I blame her. See, winter new. We just can't talk about winter. But it's, you know, it's getting nicer out. It's okay. Like, take a break. Go, you know, do something outside. Go hang out with your family. Go hang out with your friends. Go, you know, have a cookout. Like, whatever it is that you do. Go kayaking. You know, I don't know. Those are the things that I do. Go camping. Go kayaking. Sure. You know, it's okay. Like, it's okay to take a break. Like, you can come back. It's like the game. Here's the thing. It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
They're still coming out with new stuff. They're going to keep coming out with new stuff.
Yeah.
This game, I just don't see this game going anywhere anytime soon. Mm-hmm. It will be here. And here's the thing. Even if it starts to dwindle, I think we've talked about this before too. There are people who are going to keep it going.
Yeah,
there will be a community, even if they have to 3D print models and make up their own rules. Like, there are going to be people who do it because it's Star Wars, right? There's so much in the universe that we can touch on and play with, and people can create, and it's going to be around. It's okay.
Paul, even if it becomes illegal in this country or any country to play Legion, by God, the community will. We will find a speakeasy to play Legion at.
Yes, there will be Legion speakeasies everywhere. It'll be great. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's all the things that we've talked about are different ways that you can, you know, work through it if that's what you want to do. And that's the other thing too, is if at some point you have to step away, like, that's okay. Like, you can put your stuff in a box and save it for later. You can sell it, and, you know, if that's what kind of break you need, you know, you got to do you. You have to do what is ever going to keep you sane and healthy, right? Like,
exactly.
We change what we do. Like, I love tabletop war games. Like, but I didn't always. I didn't know I even liked them for the longest of times. But I still have other things that I really enjoy doing too. And so you can do those. It's good. And I think one of the biggest things that you can do too is, and I think this goes, I'm going to get a little more like personal about it too. You know, it doesn't even have to be hobby related. If you're getting burnt out with something, like I see this all the time at my work. I see a lot of things at my job that most people would just not understand. And a lot of people have different stressors or things like that, you know, in their work, in hobbies, whatever, if you want to, you know, go that route, whatever it might be where you're feeling that burnout, you're, you know, getting stressed out with it. It's okay. I would encourage anybody who feels that way just to talk to somebody. Let people know where you're at. Because if nothing else, then at least people know. Are they going to be able to fix it? No. Like, I don't know that anybody's really going to be able to fix it for you. Mm. But at least someone else being aware of where you're at will help. Just being able to talk about it a little bit. I know, you know, Ben and I have had these conversations too, because I'm at a point in Legion where Well, I was at a point in Legion. I'm getting more excited now as like new stuff is coming out and as I talk to more people. But I kind of like took that kind of break and took kind of a side step and played some other games a little bit, got my mind focused a little elsewhere. And now I have people who I've been talking to guys, that I've played Legion with for a long time who, they're sending me lists and stuff and we're just talking about, list building and going back to that way of just talking about the game. And we're not making any like hyper competitive lists. We're just, hey, like, what if we did this? What if we added this in? So I would just encourage you to do whatever you feel like is needed for you, to feel like you're in a better place. If that's, hobby related, if that's personally with Burnout, we all go through it a little differently and it means something different and we have different ways of, coping and dealing with those things. So, but I know that my conversations with Ben here, that we've had have helped me get through that phase that I was in too, about being a little down on it and just not being super interested, in games and stuff. And now, here we are. We keep talking about it. We got new stuff to explore. And
I think we just hype ourselves up on like talking about stupid stuff to put on a table because you and I are both just like, man, we just want our opponent to like double take when we put our army down and be like, what are you doing? And we just tell each other, hey, what if we run this? That would do it, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, and sometimes and that might be it too, right? Like Legion, maybe it's just a part of Legion that you're struggling with, that burnout. Like you said, I mean, maybe it's 800 points. Maybe you're doing that competitive scene at 800 points all the time. You're trying to get 40 games in before you get to an event with your list, and like maybe you just need to switch it up and play 500 a little bit and just play some stuff that you would not see on the 800 point table, right? And just change it up. And sometimes that's all you need.
Other recommendation: play narrative. Play those narrative events that they came out with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
that's some wild fun.
The down ATSTs, and they have the new one. There's
the new op kit that's coming out. Yeah, that's
like there's going to be a lot of, or you could go play some of the alternate rules list building stuff that they've done, right?
I almost totally forgot, like, the unconventional warfare.
Yes, yeah, like, change it up. Just do something a little different to get you out of that rut that you might be in.
Yeah.
And then you can come back, refreshed and maybe with a new perspective or.
I think that's, and I like what you said about, being able to talk to people, because I know right now that I know people in the community that they're playing the game and I'm pretty sure they feel like pressured to have to keep playing that game. And I don't want people to think that they can't be burnt out. I think maybe Paul was even burnt out a little bit on where he was at with Legion. And I think he kind of you can confirm or deny this if you want, but I felt like one day I told you and then you were kind of like, dude, I'm kind of already burnt out a little bit. like you kind of admitted it later. I could be wrong on that. Yeah. But maybe you just felt like, I can't really tell him because he loves this game so much. Like, it's just going to hurt him.
I would definitely agree with that. And part of why I'm saying this and we're talking about it, right, is from that personal experience. Like, I tried to keep it to myself because I had so many people that I knew from Legion, and those were some of the only conversations I had with these people. But I have found out that I've still had conversations with them and it doesn't have to revolve around Legion. Legion was the gateway for me to meet a lot of these people, you included, but that's not the amount of time that we spend talking about Legion compared to other stuff. We really don't even talk about Legion the majority of the time.
Yeah,
That's true. We're talking about other things. We're asking about, how life
jobs.
is.
Jobs. What
like,
you got going on, what you're doing. Otherwise, if you're not doing the hobby, like what you're up to, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's something to keep in mind, right? Like that
Yeah.
everybody has that. Like this is one facet of our lives and what we do, right? And in the grand scheme of things, I would, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for the majority of us, it's not that big of a portion, right? Like
that's right.
This is what I do in some of my downtime, but like I have a job, I have a family, I have kids. Like we have plenty of other stuff that we do. We go hang out with friends, we go see family. When I get to the game table, and specifically to play Legion, is a very, very small amount of my time, in my life. And so just that's a good thing to keep in mind, right? That other people can feel the same way, and it doesn't have to always be about Legion.
I'd actually like to think it's at other experience levels too. So like you don't have to be playing 40 reps of this game to get burnt out on it. Maybe you just got into the game. Maybe you just bought your core set, and maybe you're already feeling it. And maybe you're reading that as like you were super excited for it before. You were like, I know I know painting these up might be something I've never done before, I know it's going to be a big task, but I've got this scheme in my mind and I want to paint it really bad and it's going to look really cool. And the demo I played with that really handsome guy at my store, God, I want to play him again. It's so great. 'Cause that game is so fun. And then you get your core box and then you like maybe assemble your squads, or maybe you get one painted, or maybe you don't even get that far. And then you already feel like, oh my God, this is so much. And you might just misread that as like, I don't actually want to do this hobby. And you could actually I think you could just be burnt out really early. I think that's absolutely something that can happen, because I know friends of mine who actually did get burnt out on it really early, took off a couple months, and then when they came back to it, they had just as much, if not more, excitement than they did when they were just getting started. Yeah. So I think people burn out at different times, and everybody experiences it to some degree. So don't ever feel like you can't talk to somebody about it, because they either have or will experience the same thing. And maybe you want to keep it, like, I've done the same thing with other stuff, not Legion necessarily, but like, I haven't told people like, oh, I'm kind of not feeling that thing right now, or that game or something like that. Is like, yeah, it's not really doing it for me right now. Excuse me. It's not really doing it for me right now. So and maybe I hold that stuff in just because, I don't want to disappoint the other person or make them think like, oh, I just don't want to talk to them right now, or maybe something like that. But honestly, I would encourage, as a big step, to just talk to your friends, because they're, at the end of the day, they will still be your friends. Like, don't just think because you only met them through this game that they're now not gonna like you as much anymore or something like that.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And I will say, I've talked about like getting that burnout in Legion, right? But to go all the way back, as I'm thinking about it, I've talked a couple of times now about playing the Lord of the Rings game. Legion was actually my break from Lord of the Rings when I was getting burnt out on it years ago when Legion came out.
Right.
So, it happens. It doesn't, I'm not saying that Legion is the thing that's like burning me out. It can be, just like you said, it can be anything. It can be any game. It can be any facet of your life that you're getting burned out on, like kind of we were talking about. So, it all comes full circle. And, I was getting burnt out on Legion a little bit, and I went back and did some Lord of the Rings, and then I got some of that out of my system, and, now I kind of am doing both. Like, I'm playing both games fairly regularly. And right now it's good, right? And eventually I might be like, well, I'm going to shift and play Legion more and play Lord of the Rings less, or, I might play a different game.
And what makes it easy? What makes that easy, Paul? Is having the commitment of only doing a podcast about it once a month.
Yeah, if only all my other podcasts were like that. Oh wait, no, this is my only podcast. I'm just kidding. See, so I like Legion better than every other game, so I'm doing a podcast about it.
Oh, here we go. I'm just gonna pretend it was because you liked me more than everyone else, but sure, we can say that too. if you want.
Yeah.
But actually, you bring up a cool point because you were saying that like one thing was a break game for another. So my buddy Josh, and I think I kind of do this too to a degree, but he does it like definitely more to an extreme. He has like a triangle of hobby, and I think it's just like what he works on versus like where his interest is, and I think he's like perfected this triangle of like a burnout triangle. I don't even know if he knows it's like a burnout triangle, but it's like where his interest shifts. And when he gets burned out of one, he goes to another. And it's Yu-Gi-Oh, mini war game, mostly Legion, sometimes also 40K, and video games. And so when he gets burnt out on one, he jumps to the other, and then he goes to the third one, and then he comes back around. And he notices he's doing it, but he doesn't like actively choose it. It's just like he'll be playing the game, and then like new Legion stuff will come out, and he'll be like, oh, I'm gonna get my Legion stuff ready for that. And then he plays Legion. And then he plays Legion for a while, and then he's like, oh, new stuff for this came out. Okay, I'm gonna go to that now. And then he just kind of keeps doing that pattern in a triangle, and I think it's smart, actually, to like have different hobbies to be able to like, once you get burnt out on one, go to another. Like, I kind of do that with video games as well. Like, if I'm getting burnt out on a mini war game, I'll go over to video games, and then I'll play that for a bit, get burnt out on that, or maybe I'll just feel refreshed to go back to that other thing, and then I'll try to, go back. So, yeah, I mean, if obviously, if you don't want to just take a break completely, that could be an alternate route. So you mentioned Lord of the Rings, Paul. Do you have any other games that you might recommend to people that maybe want to stay within the board game route of like what they want to play? Like, if they wanted to move from Legion and they wanted to play like another just any kind of board game or tabletop game.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, there's so many different.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
just give me some of your favorites.
I'm looking around my room and just being like, oh my gosh, all of my board games. I have tons of board games. Honestly, something that I find a big change that's really helpful is something that my wife enjoys when we play games is she does not like the competitive games like Legion where, you're fighting against each other, and especially when you're killing each other's stuff or knocking it out or whatever, when you have to take your guys off of the board or the table, she doesn't like that. So,
that's fair. Cooperative games.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. One of the big things that I have a lot of board games of is cooperative. But there's also interesting things that you can do within those games too. Again, right? Like Legion, come up with some custom rules. Like come up with something where you, one of your buddies or whatever, maybe you each are going to bring 500 points and you're going to make a list, 1,000-point list that you're both going to play against. And it's just, like standards. You and I are going to play Rebels, and we're going to play against standard Stormtrooper, ATSTs, that kind of stuff. And we're going to work together to play against it, and they just kind of work on an AI, right? Like every turn they move and shoot at the closest thing. Just like change it up. But something cooperative. Board games, I have a lot of them. One of my wife's favorite ones is Zombicide.
Zombicide's so fun.
Yeah, just kind of like zombie apocalypse, and there's different genres. There's like a medieval one, there's a modern day one, there's a futuristic one. So that's one that we get to the table a lot. Zombicide, anything like that. That has that cooperative feel where you're working together and just like slaying hordes of guys, is another like tabletop game that I enjoy playing. And again, just something like with different mechanics. One of the things that I like about miniature war games is the list building part, right? Well, part of that is because I also have a love for building like decks for card games or that mechanic in board games, like so board games that have a deck building mechanic. For people who are into board games or looking for one to check out, There's a newer one that I got called Lost Ruins of Arnak. Just got it recently at Gen Con. I think that's when it came out. You're like explorers, but it has a deck building mechanic in there. So it like scratches that itch of like trying to build that like mechanism that works together. So like, yeah, like that's the kind of stuff that I change it up with. That's the kind of stuff that I go to when I'm changing gears.
While I'm
break.
thinking about it, Paul, I think a game that honestly, I don't know if I've ever asked you if you've played, but I think you would particularly love because it combines the two things that you just said, deck building and cooperative. Have you ever played Sentinels of the Multiverse?
Yes, I have Sentinels of the Multiverse. Yeah. So like,
I really love that one.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that you can get into, and those are some that I would recommend to anybody that is interested in playing board games and stuff. And if you want more, I know this is a Legion podcast, but always feel free to hit me up, send me a message or something, and I will be happy to give you some suggestions on some games or something if you want something different to get a break or change things up a bit.
Because we got Lord of the Rings, Sentinels of the Multiverse. If you like deck build, if you're looking for like fun cooperative games, I know Imperial Assault, if you want to stay in Star Wars, is fun cooperative. It's kind of like Zombicide a little bit. There's Zombicide, obviously. What are some of my suggestions here? What are some games that I like? Well, I mean, if you wanted to stay in kind of theme with Legion, I mean, as far as like a war game, I don't know if I want to suggest 40K to people if you're getting burnt out on Legion, because it just feels like more intense Legion. But it's, it's there. If you just want different models to paint, sure. And honestly, that's actually something I've done is I just want to paint different models that are just like, I want to move from this kind of, like, I want to move away from Stormtroopers and I want to paint Adeptus Mechanicus, or I want to paint, Tyranids or something. Like, sure, just go over to 40K and just paint some stuff. You don't have to play it. But if you're just looking for that, you could. If you want to play another kind of skirmish game, though, there's Marvel Crisis Protocol, also made by AMG. Super fun game.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like maybe it's scale, right? Maybe it's like, okay, I don't want to move around 40 models like every time I play a game. So maybe Marvel Crisis Protocol is the way to go, right? Because
you got like 5.
Yep, you can just have a handful and be done.
Or go even smaller, have 3 models, and wait for it, Zinvaded. And that's also going to be my recommendation for the cast. And if you want to hear about that game, go back to the Gen Con episode we did, whatever the most previous Gen Con episode is, because if you're listening to this 10 years in the future and we have a bunch of Gen Con episodes, then you're probably lost, but, whatever. Zinvaded will be a recommendation as well as Arena Rex. Those are similar skirmish games that just have fewer models and are both super fun.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Arena Rex is one that I played recently at Adepticon, and it is smaller model count, and it's simple, right? Like 4, 5, 6 on a 6-sided die is a success. 1, 2, 3 is a failure. Like, you don't have to worry about symbols. You don't have to, on the dice and interpreting what those mean. It's just, everything is a 50-50, which sometimes something like that's a little more, not that the game is simplistic. There's still complexities to it. There's plenty of depth.
Oh, there are.
But, something like that, changing up mechanics, just to make something a little more simple, or more complex, if that's what you're looking for, right? Like, you might be playing Arena Rex and want something a little deeper, and maybe you turn to Legion. So, those are all options. Yeah. And I think Ben and I would be happy to suggest other things too if you, have any other questions. So feel free to hit us up on that.
I mean, as of time of recording, we are 2 of the 3, Funkoverse World Champions, so we can also recommend that game.
That's another one. Yeah, if you want something light and fun, that was a good time.
All right. Well, unless I want to go on for 20 minutes talking about how everyone should drop Legion and play Bakugan, I think we should find some sort of out here.
Well, I think there's something going on over there.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. What's going on? Oh, that's shooting. Ooh, those are blasters. Okay, okay, Paul. I think we might be able to slip out if we both go right now.
Let's go.
Alright, let's go. Okay, so far so good. Okay, alright, it looks like we're gonna be out for now. We're still gonna be in binder cuffs, but we're gonna I see the AA5 over there, so let's head over there. Alright, I think that's probably gonna be it for us though, unless we get shot at or something happens. We'll see you next month. I hope everyone had a nice time listening to us until then. I'm currently trying to get my cuffs off. I'm Ben Jetron.
I'm Paul Watson.
And we will see you go out and make today even better, and don't take any hostages. Good night. Will you bite these off for me, Paul? I know your teeth are stronger.